So folks, that was great, wasn't it? It's a great way to start the video, wasn't it? Rubbing me nose. Anyway, it's a lovely morning here in the west. The sun is shining. The cold, that freezing cold bite is gone out of the air, and it's fantastic. It's a lovely spring morning. And it's nice to get out and about in it, and I like to just do a walk of the land every now and again. Here we are. Makes me sound great, doesn't it? A walk off the land. we have about 1.5 acres here, and the house is situated, say, in the middle of it. So if you imagine, maybe just larger than a football field, and the house being in the middle. So that's the kind of space we have, and it came with the house. We bought the house. It was derelict, and I'll do another video about kind of getting it done up and what we did, and you know, all that kind of stuff. But it came with the land, and it's still quite, the land came with the property, and it's still quite wild. We've tamed some parts of it, creating little bits of garden, you know, but it's still quite wild, as you can see. But I actually wanted to talk about retirement. And it seems a lot of people talk about retiring out to the country, getting a little cottage, whether it's, you know, turnkey, as they say, you walk in and it's all done up for you, or whether it's a doer-upper for yourself, whatever. A lot of people talk about retiring, and my advice would be, I've said it before, take your time, don't rush into it. Make sure you have plans, and make sure you have backups for those plans. You know, if you're, let's call a dog here. But if you're planning on selling your house, cashing in the equity, and coming out to the countryside, and trying to set yourself up out here, just be careful. Don't be fooled into thinking that you can come out here with your cash and that's it, you're done, you're dusted, you can put your feet up, get your slippers on, get the hot chocolate and that's you. That's not reality, unless, as I say, you've tons of money, which most of us don't. So look at it, see what you have. If you're lucky enough to buy a place outright, we did, because it was cheap and it was derelict, and we took it on, and we wanted to go on the adventure of doing a place up bit by bit, you know. So we got everything cheap and we were lucky. But just, if you're just in your 50s, doing up a place is going to suck your money away. It does. You know, you'd be surprised how quickly it can go, and how quickly you can find yourself looking at your finances thinking, oh, this isn't working out how I thought it would be, and then you can get a little bit panicky, you know. So just think it through. You know, if you're content wherever you live, if you're content in life with your home, family and job, you know, if you're satisfied, and probably in the dark there, wasn't it? If you're content in your little world, in your little bubble, why change it? You know what I mean? Yeah, it's lovely out here, it's peaceful, it's quiet, the scenery is fantastic, and it is very, very therapeutic, I have to say. It's a wonderful life out here. But if you're just in a position where, you know, it's the grass is greener on the other side, the novelty of that can wear off quick. This is a life change. This is permanent if you do this. And so you have to plan accordingly. And you don't want to be in a position where all of a sudden you find your finances running out and then you don't know what to do. And if you planned on not working, if you planned on retiring permanently, and then all of a sudden you find yourself having to go back to work, that changes things, because you're out here then in the countryside and having to go back to work. So are there jobs? Is it possible? You know, you want to avoid big spanners in the works, and planning does that. Retirement, early retirement sounds wonderful, and there are huge pros to it and huge advantages, you know, quality of life wise. But you do have to be careful. You have to get your house, your finances in order. Get all your ducks in a row, you know, and make sure you've thought it through, that you've agreed on with your wife or whatever, or your husband or whatever, that you have agreed on a yearly budget, that you are disciplined and committed enough to stick to it. You know, a lot of the time it gets down to buying what you need, not what you want. The reality is those days of looking at something and thinking, oh, I'd really like that, that's a treat. It's not a, oh, I'm finished work for the weekend, I want something to do, I want a little dopamine hit, fuck it, I'll go on to Amazon and I'll buy whatever I want. My experience at least, you can't live like that when you make this change from city 9 to 5 working life early to when you change to early retirement out in the country. And hey, I mean, I keep mentioning like about moving out to somewhere rural. You might be thinking of early retirement and staying in the town, in the city, whatever. But the same applies. Agree on a budget. Sit down, work it out. How much do your utilities cost? How much is your food shop? How much is your fuel for the car? You know, because if you're retiring and you're like, I don't know, let's pick a number. If you're like 50 grand in the bank, I'm loaded. Well, you're not. Because daily life goes on and has to be paid for. The bills, the fuel, the food. And you want plans in place so that you don't start running short and it doesn't become a concern. You know, just think it through. Think of ways, essentially, how you can live on the money you have. Living on a budget, essentially. And make no mistake about it, getting rid of the mortgage is probably the biggest thing you can do. And the biggest financial pressure you can take off yourself. We did it. We downsized. We got out of suburbia, and we bought our little homestead here. We got in when it was dirt cheap. Little plot of land, and we were lucky we found it. But I mean, we trawled the country looking at properties like this, and some were in such bad shape that you couldn't even imagine doing them up. But we found this. The building was good, the roof was good. We thought we can work with that. Anyway, is it doable? Yeah, It absolutely is. Am I glad I did it? 100%. I'd never go back to suburbia, living that kind of life where all that separates you from neighbours and all that is just a cinder block wall, you know, and living in such close proximity to thousands and thousands of people and hustle and bustle and noise and everything that goes with it. Is it doable? Yeah, it is. But you have to be smart about your choices. You have to be smart about how you're going to live. You know, make sure all your necessities are accounted for when you're doing your budget, your financial plan each year. Do we have this amount put away for the bills, for the food, for the fuel, for heating, for everything? Then whatever you have left is your own, or your savings, or whatever. And I suppose, you know, I'm not claiming to be an expert. And you certainly don't have to take my suggestions or my input as cast iron. But I'm just talking from experience, you know. Just the planning goes a long way, and the reality of what we have sitting in our bank account isn't necessarily, you know, it's not like, hey, we've a great big pot of money to spend. You don't. You have to account for it. Retirement is going to cost you. Bills don't stop. Life doesn't stop. It's going to cost you, and you have to make sure that you've got your preps in place. So, I mean, look, if you're there, if you're in the zone and you're like, I really want to do this, I can't stand this bullshit anymore of living in this soul destroying 9-to-5 world, and with all the madness that goes on in the world, and it's just fucking depressing, and you need a change. Then you're there, aren't you? And you have to go for it, I suppose. But just make sure you don't trip yourself up. Plan again, and then plan again. Secure your finances. Make sure you have them in place. If you have to put it off for another year or two and save and save and save, then do so, because it'll go a long way. I'll probably touch on this again in other videos, because it's such a huge subject and you can't cover it all in one go. There's so many little aspects to it, you know. And look, if anybody's out there and you watch this and you have any questions, ask them, because I'm not necessarily going to think about talking about kind of what yous want to know, you know. So I'll react to whatever questions I get and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, feel free, ask away, and I'll do videos based on what people want to know. But yeah, I don't know if you can hear all the birds in the background. It's fantastic. And I suppose I you know, it's probably quite appropriate to end on that. There are pros and cons to everything in life, including retiring early, moving out to the country, getting out of the institutional rat race and towns. So pros and cons to that as well. But there are far more pros, I have to say, to doing this. Far more pros, and just being able to come out here early Saturday morning and stand in the peace and quiet and no traffic and listen to the birds is just one of the many, many pros. See you later.